Welcome everyone to this session, which is going to be which is titled Namaste Care, Teaching a Multisensory Intervention for Advanced Dementia. My name's Nicola Jacobson Wright. I'm Dementia Practice Development Coach based at the University of Worcester. And in this session, we're going to be exploring some of the research behind Namaste Care, its essential elements, an online education project to share the approach, and some reflections on implementation and sustainability. There's going to be a Q&A session at the end for questions, so please do make sure you put these in the Q&A, not in the session chat. To do this, you need to click on the Q&A button along the bottom and send your questions. I'm going to be your first presenter, and I will then hand on to my colleagues. You will be hearing from Lorna Reid, who's lead for training and education at the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice. Our colleague who we have a pre-recorded presentation from Min Stackpool, who is a retired palliative care nurse with a specialism in dementia and co-founder of the charity NEAR, and Di Bushell, who is a carer for both her parents, and Di is also doing her PhD on communication in advancing dementia. So I'm going to share my presentation and hope this works. Okay, hopefully everybody can now see that. Okay, so Namaste Care was founded by Joyce Simard, a lovely lady in the USA, and she founded it in response to a lack of appropriate stimulation and engagement offered to people with advanced dementia. What she observed was that residents' physical needs were met, they were well groomed, changed, and fed, but she asked, what is their quality of life? She recognised that within care settings, there was a population of people that were unable to engage with social activities and opportunities that were offered, and she created Namaste Care for this group. Early research in the UK suggested that Namaste Care could be beneficial for people in the advanced stages of dementia, helping to alleviate symptoms such as agitation, depression, pain, and to reduce the use of inappropriate medications and unnecessary hospitalisation. At the University of Worcester, we were keen to understand more about Namaste Care, and in 2016, we were funded by the Alzheimer's Society for a 3-year implementation grant. We primarily really wanted to explore and better understand the process of implementing Namaste Care in UK care homes, and secondly, to have a look at the impact and experience of the intervention from the perspective of residents, staff, and families. We were very grateful to our funder and collaborators, including Joyce Simard, who supported us to ensure that we were remaining true to the original model. And in particular, we were very grateful to the care home residents, staff, and families who took part in the project. We had 6 case study care homes that were involved, and we were really impressed with what they managed to achieve in implementing Namaste Care. We became aware it's not always easy to articulate and define what Namaste Care is, and that seeing and experiencing it is the best way to really understand it. So we went back to the Alzheimer's Society for some additional funding to create a short film showcasing 2 of the care homes involved in the project. So rather than describing Namaste Care to you now, I'm going to hand over to our film to do that.
Namaste Care is a structured way of really supporting people who are living with advanced dementia. It originated in the United States, and the word Namaste is a Hindu saying which means to honour the spirit within.
Namaste Care is a sensory intervention, so it's really important to pay attention to all the different senses, both in terms of the different things that are used within Namaste Care, but also how people are managing to respond to those.
And we've pretty good evidence now to suggest that this Namaste Care improves people's quality of life, and it decreases that sense of agitation that can sometimes accompany dementia. And for other people, it stimulates them, so it perhaps helps us to reach those people who might otherwise be quite locked in to their emotional state.
I think the important thing is that it almost takes people out of themselves, because I think people with severe dementia can get very quiet and withdraw, if you like, so it's difficult to get through to them. So I suppose it's a way of reaching out to people, and for them to reach out to the outside world.
My wife Valerie has her hands massaged, which I feel is so important. The human touch is so important.
Coming into their Namaste room every morning for quite a number of weeks, it's taken the aggression away.
Namaste Care doesn't take any extra staff. It's about the reorganisation of staff and involving them in doing activities rather than just an activity coordinator.
It's just so warm and it's lovely. I would really recommend implementing it in your care home. Don't.
Okay, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of a flavour of what Namaste Care is. There is a longer version of that film as well. We just shared the shortened version, but in the resources you can access a longer version with a bit more detail as well. So, as well as hopefully giving you a bit of a sense of what Namaste Care is, I wanted to reinforce a quick overview of some of the key elements of Namaste Care as we understood it. So, importantly, Namaste Care takes a strengths-based approach. So, it's taking the focus away from disability that's often really associated with advanced dementia and working with people's continuing abilities, really thinking about what remains. Um, Namaste Care is an intervention that's done on a regular basis. So Joyce's original sort of prescription, if you like, was for it to be done twice a day. So once or twice a day for around 1.5 to 2 hours. The sessions take place in a dedicated Namaste Care space, which might be separate or it might be in a portioned off area of an existing room. There is a dedicated Namaste Care worker for that session, somebody from the usual care team, and based on usual staff resident ratio, and that person is providing a slow-paced presence and person-centered approach. There is the provision of physical and psychological comfort, including assessment of pain, skin care, and food and drink opportunities. There's a focus on the senses with a particular emphasis on the use of therapeutic touch. Namaste Care brings opportunities to support improved end-of-life care, is very inclusive of visiting family and friends, and takes a whole team approach. So here are some of the key findings from our original study. Of the 6 care homes involved, 5 of them managed to implement for the 3 months or more that we asked them to. And we found that having a dedicated room did significantly help implementation and impact. A group of 4 to 8 residents was optimal, depending on the size of the room. In terms of dosage, regularity is important. 2 sessions a day we found was hard for places to achieve, but once a day seemed to be enough to create an impact. Genuine practical leadership from management is required right from the outset. Planning is more effective than rushing ahead, so implementation has to be seen as part of the intervention itself. It doesn't take extra staff, but it does take reorganisation and support of staff. It has to be seen as a care intervention and not an add-on activity. And importantly, we recognise that advanced dementia is judged subjectively based on the existing resident group, which is fine, and that the important question we learned was to ask whether the person had their emotional and social needs met elsewhere. And I think for us, this was a learning curve on the project because originally we were asking, would this person benefit from Namaste Care? And I think even from maybe having watched the film, you can see that probably any of us with or without dementia would benefit from Namaste Care. And so that rather than asking that, what we needed to ask was, is this person benefiting from anything else that's happening in their setting? And that helped us to identify a group of people that maybe aren't having their needs met anywhere else, and that therefore Namaste Care is something that's really needed for them. So in terms of impact for residents, what we saw was a significant decrease in levels of agitation and a significant increase in quality of life. And this was really, really lovely for us to see so clearly the impact that Namaste Care was having for these people. We didn't see any impact on medication or falls or hospital admissions, but those were all low rate to begin with. And we heard a lot of anecdotal evidence to suggest that people were increasingly alert, more communicative, and that they had increased fluid intake and weight gain. So there are so many different stories and anecdotes and quotes that I could share, but with limited time, I've chosen just one. And this is from a Namaste Care worker on the project who said, the really lovely one that really got to the essence of Namaste, that really did touch me, was a lady who has died now. We managed to get her up because she was downstairs, and we managed to get her up for a session, and she absolutely was transfixed by it. She just glowed, you know? And 2 days later, she died. But the thing is, if it's at the end of life, at the end point of life, we did it for her, and that was huge. That was huge. And I thought, wow, this is quite something. What we really needed ultimately to do, we have done for this lady. And I was so pleased for her. So, having seen these lovely impacts of Namaste Care, we've been keen to share this further with more people. As part of that original project, we created guidance booklets which are free to download, which you can access through our resources, and we offered training based on the learning that we'd had. With the increase of people's interest in online learning and its accessibility, we also wanted to look at whether we could develop a fully online course that would support people to learn about Namaste Care and, very importantly, to practically implement it. We were fortunate to be funded by Curie to develop, deliver, and evaluate a fully online evidence-based short course on Namaste Care. We work closely with a number of collaborators, some of whom you will get to hear from today, including people from the charity NEAR, colleagues from Ayrshire Hospice and the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice, and people with lived experience. So what did the course include? It was a 5-week online course, which actually now we've changed into a 10-week course following feedback from the pilot. So just the same content, but spread out over a longer amount of time to enable people to have more time to implement. The course contains original video content filmed by the collaborators, practical exercises, useful resources, planning tips, discussion boards, and on a weekly basis, or now a fortnightly basis, we have a live online discussion. In the pilot, there were 7 care homes that took part, and each care home was offered 2 places on the course, one for a member of management or senior staff who could have a more strategic and planning view, and one offered to a member of the direct care team or activity staff. We had care homes recruited in Scotland, Wales, and England, and a combination of different sized homes representing different providers. The key findings from the project were that we saw improvements in people's knowledge, confidence, and understanding of dementia, Namaste Care, and supporting people at end of life. We heard stories about practical changes that people were starting to make to improve the care that they offered to people at that stage of their dementia. And we feel confident that we've created a course that enables Namaste Care to be shared more widely. This is something that we're now providing on a regular basis. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Lorna, who's going to give you a little bit more of a deep dive into some of the elements of Namaste Care that are included as part of the course.
Thanks, Nicola. So my name's Lorna Reid. I'm the lead nurse for education and training at the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice in Glasgow. And during 2010-2011, I supported the implementation and evaluation of the first Namaste Care programme in Scotland. Then, together with my good colleague Fiona Irvin from Ayrshire Hospice, we've been continually developing, refining, and delivering workshops on the practice of Namaste Care ever since. So, during the next 15 minutes, you're invited into a wee sampler programme of the training programme. So, welcome. Glad you're here, and we're going to have a good time together. Next slide, thanks, Nicola. So it's important that participants come to a present moment awareness and felt sense that the current recipe for palliative dementia care isn't working. So I'm going to invite you to do the same. Maybe you could put everything out of your hands. Maybe you could sit back. If it feels available to you, you might close your eyes to imagine the scene described by Joyce Simard, the programme creator, in her article, Silent and Invisible. So here we go. Elizabeth is 84 years old. She's lived with dementia for the past 8 years. She no longer walks. Sometimes she makes sounds. Most of her days spent in bed. She becomes invisible. John has dementia and is parked in front of the nurse's station for hours at a time. He occasionally cries out, no one can understand why, and if he can't be calmed, he's put back into his room. He becomes invisible. Emma, Julia, and Harry all have advanced dementia, and they spend their days in a day room, staring blankly at a television set. They become invisible. People like Elizabeth, John, Emma, Julia, and Harry are typical of thousands of care home residents with advanced dementia. They're well cared for medically, given medication, vital signs taken, assisted with personal care, supported with meals. But they're the silent ones, the invisible ones, easy to overlook as we rush about taking care of the needs of those who are more mobile, more vocal. But let's press pause and ask ourselves, are we doing enough for these silent residents? Is this quality of life? Are we meeting their fundamental spiritual and social needs? Who's listening to their silent cries? So maybe just taking a moment to check in on how you feel after listening to that story. Maybe a bit sad, maybe a bit frustrated. Often people working in care say they feel a bit guilty. Next slide, please, Nicola. Thankfully, the Namaste Care programme offers a different recipe, one that helps people to live, not just exist, one that schedules in comfort, warm, kind, skilled attention, sensory engagement, fun, agency and control, and one that invites discussion about what might lie ahead. So we invite participants to consider how they can create and hold healing and harmonious spaces, inner and outer spaces, how they can grow their capacity to pay attention, how they can tailor sensory engagement practices to people's preferences, their historic preferences, their in-the-moment preferences, and how they're going to think about prioritising and scheduling Namaste Care, not as pampering, not as some kind of treat to be tagged on if there's time, but as a routine, regular aspect of good palliative dementia care. Next slide, please, Nicola. So let's just take a wee moment to attend to our own personal inner space. Firstly, because it's important that we take care of ourselves, take care of our nervous systems, but also because nervous system regulation or dysregulation isn't a private matter. If we're feeling regulated, more or less calm, more or less settled, then that's what we're sharing, calm and settledness, helping to co-regulate the nervous system of those we're working with, creating a sense of safety and belonging. But if we are feeling dysregulated, stressed, distressed, bored, then that's what we're sharing, our dysregulation, co-dysregulating the nervous systems of those we're working with, making it really hard to create any sense of safety and belonging. So take a wee look at this spectrum of nervous system regulation and dysregulation, and where might you put yourself at the moment? More blue, more green, more yellow, more red? What are you feeling? What are you sharing and spreading today? And if we're feeling up in the red or yellow zones, then maybe we could lower our shoulders down from our ears a wee bit. And if we're feeling more in the blue zone, we could offer our body a big stretch and maybe a yawn. Next slide, Nicola. And how is our attention in this moment? According to research from Harvard University, most of us, most of the time, go through most of our days mentally checked out. Not seeing the flowers, not feeling the sun in our face, not aware of the hand that's holding ours. When we're caring for people with advanced and advancing dementia, the verbal and non-verbal cues of yes, I like this, and no, I don't really want it just now, are really subtle and can be easily missed. A moved eyebrow, a tension that comes into the muscles of an arm, a soft sigh, a slight leaning back. So it's really important that we train our muscle of attention so we can be mindfully aware, intentionally present as we offer sensory engagement practices and pay close attention to the embodied responses. In this moment, do we have a sense that it's more yes or more no? Next slide, please, Nicola. So maybe we can try an attention tune-up together just now. Maybe we can invite ourselves to sit up straight. Maybe we can put our feet flat onto the floor. Maybe we can rest our hands softly into our lap, allowing ourselves to stop. Taking note of our breathing or the sensations in our hands or our feet. And just noticing these sensations as a way of anchoring our often fast and furious attention into what's actually here, what's actually now. And opening and coming to our senses by noticing 5 different objects in the room. Letting our attention land and linger on each thing for a second or two. And noticing 4 different sensations in the body. The sensations of the feet on the floor, the hands in the lap, the rise and fall of the chest, the temperature of the air on the face. And noticing 3 sounds as they come into our awareness. Not worrying if there aren't 3. And 2 smells. And 1 taste. So having done that, we've invited our attention to join with what's actually going on around and within. And we can prepare to proceed, aware and with care. Next slide, please, Nicola. So, the next thing we would invite people to consider is their outer space, the seascape. So, looking around you at the moment, what do you see? And how do you feel in this space? Does it invite a sense of feeling calm and settled? Or maybe boredom? Or is there so much clutter lying about that it feels very stressful? And what could you do just now to tip the balance in the direction of calm? Is there one thing that you'd like to see more of in this space? Is there one thing that you'd like to see less? Next slide, Nicola. And what about the soundscape? I have experience of the care home environment as a care home nurse, as a hospice education facilitator, as a PhD researcher, and currently as a daughter. I sat in my dad's room last week and tuned into the sound. The soundscape was chaotic and dysregulating. Buzzers, televisions on different stations, loud music playing, the tea trolley, loud voices, somebody shouting, somebody wailing. Can we listen? Can we feel how it feels to be in this space? Can we create an oasis of calm, or at least an oasis of calmer? And later we are going to hear how Di has managed to create an oasis of calm as she's cared for her mum in a very much less than ideal environment for an experience of Namaste Care. Next slide, Nicola. It's important to have an understanding of the person's sense and sensory environment preferences. Both their historical preferences that we've maybe gathered from family members, but also in the moment preferences that we need to be tuned in to see and to feel. What kind of touch and tactile sensations would be welcome and what would not? What kind of scents and smells are appreciated, what are not? What kind of tasty food and snacks might be enjoyed and what's best avoided? Next slide, Nicola. So I'm going to end with another story. Again, you might like to imagine this scene. So this is Evelyn, and Evelyn was 101, and she was chair-bound and haunted by hallucinations from her past. She'd been a police dispatcher. Daily, she would relive frantic calls from people in crisis, constantly calling out into her clenched fist as if it were a microphone. You can see that here in the picture. They're dying. Look at the blood, the children, all those poor children. The building's on fire and he did that on purpose. The people are getting crushed on the way out. Can somebody help them? Evelyn was trapped in an ongoing nightmare. Staff didn't know how to soothe her. Medication wasn't effective in bringing Evelyn any peace. A Namaste Care room had just been set up in the care home, and Evelyn was invited to participate for a few hours every morning over the next few weeks. The room felt calm and orderly. It was autumn, so some pumpkins and fir cones and fairy lights were placed on a table covered in a black cloth. The image of a real fire was playing on the TV screen. Natural light was coming in from a big window, and there were lamps giving a soft glow round the room. The room smelled and sounded nice. The Namaste Care partner welcomed Evelyn into the room. "Hey, Evelyn," she said as she slowly crouched down to smile at Evelyn and offer her hand. "It's June here. I'm glad to see you today. Welcome. Come on in. We can sit by the fire." She got Evelyn comfy in a reclining chair. She tucked Evelyn in with a soft red blanket. She checked Evelyn wasn't showing any signs of pain. She offered her a few sips of juice. And once she was settled, she offered Evelyn two small, interestingly shaped pumpkins to hold and feel while she went to welcome other residents into the room. Once everybody was settled, the Namaste Care partner returned and came and sat beside Evelyn. "Hey, Evelyn, it's June again. I've got a lovely warm hand bath for you to try. Let me put down this towel. I'm going to pour some water in from this jug. Listen, can you hear it? It's got some pear soap dissolved into it. Can you smell that? You like it? Can you lower your hand in, Evelyn? That's it. Great job. How does it feel to swish your hand about in this warm water? Do you like the sound? How does it feel for me to scoop some of the water over the back of your hand? Too tickly? Okay. Can I pat that hand dry? How does the towel feel? Do you want to have a go with the other hand? No? Okay, that's enough for now. I've got two nice autumn pictures for you to look at. Look at the red colour of the leaves in this one. Later, June returned again. I've got some freshly baked spiced apple cake here. Can you smell it, Evelyn? Evelyn closed her eyes and smiled as the piece of cake was brought close enough for her to smell. Got a wee square for you to try. You like to try it? One day, as the Namaste Care partner was slowly and gently brushing Evelyn's hair, Evelyn asked for a teapot. I'll pay you 12 pence for it. A teapot was found, and Evelyn stroked the teapot and told tiny stories of baking cakes and having friends over for tea. Staff said the change in Evelyn was a small miracle. They supported that miracle to happen. Evelyn enjoyed quality of life till the very end of her life. Next slide, Nicola. So get ready to draw on all your strength. Change takes courage and determination. The way things are currently isn't working for people with advanced dementia. It's time for a new recipe of palliative dementia care. One that helps us to take care of our own and other people's nervous system regulation. One that helps us boost our capacity for warm and intentional presence. One that helps us know and play to our strengths and notice and nurture the strengths that remain in others. One that helps us help people live until they die. Last slide, Nicola, please. So thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed your wee sampler menu of Namaste Care training. It's been great to have you here. And back to you, Nicola.
Thank you, Lorna. And we're going to hand over now to Min. And as I said, she wasn't able to get the technology to work to join us live today, but we have a pre-recording of her talk, so I'm going to share that now.
My name is Min Stackpool. I've been involved with Namaste Care over the last 15 years, and I now work with a charity called NEAR, which stands for Namaste Care Education and Resources. This conference is about turning research findings into evidence-based practice and improving the lives of the people we care for. NEAR collaborated with Worcester University in applying to the Marie Curie Research Impact Fund to create the online course you've been hearing about, which from the outset included provision for support with implementing and sustaining Namaste Care after the education component was completed. Next slide, please, Nicola. Here's another picture of Joyce Simad's book, The End-of-Life Namaste Care Programme for People with Advanced Dementia. In 2011, I was the nurse researcher in the first UK Namaste Care research study at St Christopher's Hospice in London, and this book was our guide for implementing the first Namaste Care programmes in the UK. When we completed the study, we wrote a toolkit for implementing the Namaste Care programme for people with advanced dementia in care homes. The positive findings for residents, families and care staff which our study found led Worcester University and Lancaster University to undertake further research. And both teams produced manuals, teaching materials, which you can see here. And you have already seen a clip from Nicola's film. There have been many other studies since then, including in the Netherlands, Ireland, Canada, Australia, Singapore, even Iran. And in 2024, a €7.5 million study called In Touch was launched across 56 care homes in 7 countries in Europe. And Namaste Care is one of 2 interventions being trialled to improve the quality of life and the quality of end-of-life care for people with advanced dementia. But after a year of our study in South London, there was not one of our care homes still providing a full Namaste Care programme. and not one of the managers that I had worked with was still in post. I could today only hope to find a handful of care homes with a full Namaste Care programme, despite the growing evidence base and the various education initiatives around the country. Next slide, please, Nicola. And why should we be surprised? Education and educational resources are never sufficient to create change in practice. The In Touch study hopes their work with Namaste Care will, and I quote, herald a major change in the way that care for people with advanced dementia in the palliative phase of their illness is provided across Europe. I would like to say at this point that Namaste Care should not be considered as an activity, not even really an intervention. I've come to see it as a model of care for people with advanced dementia, combining the best of dementia care with the best of palliative care. And a new model of care requires a culture change. In complex environments, what matters is what we implement, not what we teach. It's what care workers do every day and how they communicate and respond to the needs of the people they care for that ultimately shapes the experience of people with advanced dementia. Next slide, please, Nicola. So the evidence is clear. Research consistently demonstrates that training doesn't change practice, but multi-component strategies, ongoing facilitation, and leadership engagement can significantly improve the adoption of evidence-based practice. And the next slide too, please. It was this understanding that motivated us to create NEAR, Namaste Care Education and Resources. We are all passionate advocates of Namaste Care and all Namaste Care educators. Jo and I were palliative care nurses and researched Namaste Care. Leslie's a care home manager who implemented and sustained the Namaste Care programme in her care home. And Amy worked as a Namaste Care worker before completing her MSc in dementia care. We realised that although Namaste Care has gained significant recognition, it is not widely adopted in care homes, and so is not achieving the improved quality of life and end-of-life care for people with advanced dementia that we believe is possible. NEAR's first action has been this collaboration with the Association for Dementia Studies to provide an element of support for implementation and sustainability as part of the student's course. Next slide, please, Nicola. However excellent and inspiring the teaching, once students are back at work, momentum tends to get lost. Care environments are busy and carers are under pressure. They have to negotiate competing priorities as well as entrenched practice and routines. Without structured support, staff can feel uncertain and lack confidence to initiate any change in practice. Without strong leadership and a strong team, some care workers may become disheartened while others risk burnout. There can be great learning without achieving actual change in practice or the culture of care. Next slide, please, Nicola. We have based our intervention on Jo Hockley's work, implementing the Gold Standards Framework with the Care Home Project team at St Christopher's. Jo and I offer structured support via online monthly Zoom meetings for 45 minutes for all participants in a Namaste Care course. Participants are encouraged to describe their progress with planning and implementing Namaste Care in their care setting. Although care homes are the most common setting, students also work in hospices, in hospitals, learning disability services, home care services, including 24-hour care at home. We encourage students to share their successes and challenges, to learn from one another and reflect on how they can move forward with implementing Namaste Care. For many, the first step is the hardest. Delivering Namaste Care to an individual or setting up a group session is a challenge. Students are encouraged to take a structured approach. For example, to watch a film on hand massage, then to practice on a colleague or family member before offering hand massage to a resident with dementia, and then they can proceed to support other colleagues using hand massage in a group Namaste Care session. If other members of the care team are unsupportive, different strategies can be tried. For example, showing the Seeing is Believing film to all staff, or perhaps undertaking an audit of the stimulation offered to residents with advanced dementia in the course of a typical day in order to demonstrate the need for Namaste Care. At the close of each session, participants are asked to say what they hope to achieve in the month before the next session. And we find that when managers are attending the online support sessions, the progress towards implementation is usually faster. Next slide, please, Nicola. The design of the course moves from implementation to sustainability after 6 months, but in practice, of course, there is overlap as some areas move faster than others. As time moves on, the focus shifts from developing new practice to embedding Namaste Care in the routines of the organisation, building a strong Namaste Care team and ensuring that all the care team feels the same sense of ownership and pride in their Namaste Care is key. Developing teaching materials for new staff to learn about Namaste Care, showcasing the achievement, perhaps making a film, writing an article, presenting at a conference, can all help embed Namaste Care and ensure that the programme will be sustained in the long term. It has been disappointing, though, perhaps not surprising, that take-up on the online support has been low. Without ongoing assignments or continuing professional development points to collect, many people feel that they've completed their course. The students who have attended have usually maintained their attendance, sometimes interrupted by clinical work or short staffing, as well as holidays and sickness. But it's remarkable that several people have attended on their days off, and all have reported that the sessions were helpful and have valued the support. Next slide, please, Nicola. So we feel we're at the beginning of a new chapter. We've been working on creating a new course for care homes, near for a year, which focuses on transforming practice and culture and combines education with supported implementation and sustainability, recognising that meaningful change will be slow. And again, the next slide, please, Nicola. The course will be built on the experience and learning of the past year. And we're also developing a Namaste Care course specifically for family carers at home. And the next slide, please, Nicola. Over time, we hope to create an online community of practice for everyone involved with Namaste Care to share experiences, stories, resources, learning and developments. We hope members will provide each other with peer support and encouragement. We believe that Namaste Care can create comfort, connection, dignity and hope for people with advanced dementia and their families and friends. When organisations are supported with implementation and sustainability, we see more than programme adoption. We see stronger relationships, more responsive care environments, increased staff confidence, and ultimately an enhanced quality of life for people with advanced dementia and everyone involved in their care. Thank you and namaste.
Okay, so thank you to Min, who I believe it hopefully is out there listening to us. Thank you for your contribution to this.
My name is Min
To
Stackpool.
work out how to
I've been involved.
move on. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Di.
Thank you. For the past 12 years, I've been a carer for my mum, who has been living with dementia for 17 years. She now lives in a nursing home and is at the end of life. I'm also a carer for my dad, who is experiencing cognitive issues and lives independently with my support. Next slide, please. I trained in Namaste Care with Ayrshire Hospice and Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice, and I was one of several family carers alongside people living with dementia who contributed to the University of Worcester's Namaste Care training, which makes the programme grounded in lived experience. As a carer, I know that Namaste Care is vital for supporting people at the end of life. It gives people time and attention without any demands or expectations and allows channels of communication to open, facilitating a sense of friendship and connection. People tend to rely on words and make assumptions that communication requires words. However, words are only one part of a wide spectrum of communication, and Namaste Care allows us to explore and expand that spectrum. Next slide, please. Namaste Care has evolved for me and Mum. I began doing Namaste type care about 8 years ago when Mum was still living at home. Although I hadn't had any training back then, I would massage her legs and feet to try to get her in the mood for personal care. It was something I did to her with the aim of trying to achieve a task. Having now had training and using Namaste Care with Mum at the end of her life, it isn't a form of pampering or a task-driven activity. It's a fundamental way of connecting with her. It brings out a smile. She might flicker her eyes open, and she may even find a word. I don't know if she knows I'm her daughter, but that's not what matters. Care homes can be chaotic, noisy, and unpredictable, and at times it can be challenging to practice Namaste Care with Mum. There isn't a Namaste Care room or a quiet area, and Mum is no longer mobile, so I can't walk her to her own room. Mum is usually in the lounge, and thankfully she's able to tune out the chaos and the noise. I find it harder, and I have to practice being present, centering myself, focusing on my breath, and acknowledging the noise and letting it go. In Namaste Care, we are the tool. So if we aren't in the right space, we aren't going to be able to bring the other person into the right space. And it will be different for everyone because we have to be flexible and experiment with it and see what works for the person on the day. I will now describe how a typical Namaste Care session takes place when I'm with Mum in the lounge of her nursing home. Next slide, please. I make sure Mum is warm, that there are no sneaky drafts coming from a window or air conditioning unit, that she has a blanket over her knees, and she's holding something she finds comforting. When the lounge is particularly chaotic, I discreetly spray a flower essence around us, with the aim of creating an oasis of calm and a mini Namaste Care space within the lounge. Next slide, please. I have a sensor light, an interactive therapeutic lamp in the shape of an orb, which I put on a table in front of us. I switch it on to whichever setting feels right, which could be balancing, relaxing, energizing, or cognitive boost, and the light glows in slow oscillating rhythms. If Mum's eyes are open, the colours usually mesmerize her, and she watches as they gently flow into each other. Staff and other residents are often attracted by the sensor light too, and come and join us, creating a circle around the table. Next slide, please. I then choose some of Mum's favourite music, which hopefully she captures over the background noise. I sing along to the music, and Mum sometimes nods or silently mouths a few words, and other residents often join in. Next slide, please. If my hands are warm enough, I gently stroke Mum's hand and tell her that I'm going to offer her some nice smells. I have several scarves infused with different essential oils. Mum's favourites are rose and lavender. As Mum loved her garden, I raise a rose-scented scarf to her nose so she can breathe in the aroma. Next slide, please. Mum loves desserts, particularly strawberry trifle. Mum usually doesn't open her eyes while eating, but she often manages at least one trifle. After she's finished eating, I offer her something to drink, and I have to admit, by now, a lot of the other residents want trifle too. Next slide, please. If Mum's eyes had been open, she may now close them to have a snooze. As she always used to sleep with a cat on her head, I wrap a soft toy around Mum's shoulder, so it's snuggled up to her cheek. And I change the music to cat purring sounds, and I put the purring close to her ear. She loves nuzzling the toy, and if I'm lucky, she may say the word, lovely. Next slide, please. Instead of being something you do, Namaste Care can become a way of being and of recognizing the person's wide spectrum of communication when words are diminishing. it can be transformative and elevating, not just for the person at end of life, but also for their loved ones. And in an impromptu group setting, it has ripple effects where everyone shares a deep sense of connection. All of those people who choose to sit in a circle with us, watching the light, listening and singing along to the music, and smelling the aromas, are participating in something special. The staff also get to witness the possibilities of care that isn't based around tasks. Namaste Care is what person-centered care looks like at the end of life. It communicates to the person that they matter and are being seen. Next slide, please. Although a couple of staff at Mum's Care Home have certificates in Namaste Care, that training was 3 managers ago, so Namaste Care has never been implemented. I understand how hard it is to introduce something new into care homes. Mum has been at her current nursing home for 4 years, so longer than virtually all the staff, and certainly longer than the 4 managers who have come and gone during her time. In my opinion, Namaste Care is too important to wait for care homes to get their acts together. I would like to see care homes being open to shared care and involve families in providing Namaste Care. As you can see from the photos, Namaste Care is participative, even playful, and driven by the desire for connectedness. After I trained in Namaste Care, I contacted the management team at Mum's nursing home to volunteer, but apart from promises that they would get back to me, I didn't hear any more. Families are an important and stable resource, and it's time that that was recognised. Last slide, please. I'll finish this presentation by reading a poem by Sue Beeson. Sue contributed to the Namaste Care Education Project from her lived experience. Diagnosed with Alzheimer's at age 76 and having cared for both parents with the condition, she also brings a professional background in education and brain development, including the impact of music and sensory experiences on mood and cognitive ability. Sue was a great asset to our collaborator team and wrote this poem while working on the project. It's called Battle. To put up a fight is exhausting if you're battling on your own, but with well-trained troops beside me, each skirmish can be won. Then, with time to regroup and recover, the foe can be faced for another round, so I can move forwards a little bit, or at least hold on to my ground. But the time will come, who knows just when, that my wish to fight gives way to surrender, taking me to a blissful place with Namaste Care so tender. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. We have a relatively short amount of time for some questions, but I'm going to stop sharing now so that hopefully I can see the Q&A. Thank you everybody for listening. Okay, so we have a question here, kind of outlining the fact that our point about Namaste Care potentially being beneficial to everyone is important. Could we say more about that? I guess, I mean, I'm happy to kind of like answer a little bit of that, and then if Lorna and I have anything to add. I think the thing that I was saying about recognizing the sort of benefit to everyone is that I guess Namaste Care comes back to things that are accessible to every human at every age. They are kind of basic ways for us to be able to connect with other humans, and being able to connect in a sensory way is just very, very natural for us. It's very innate and sort of hardwired in us from, kind of almost when we're born, certainly from when we're very young, right the way through up until the end of our life. And I think that's one of the things that makes Namaste Care so accessible, is that it kind of drives into that sort of those basic needs and basic ways of communicating. But I don't know whether Lorna, is there anything else you want to add in there?
I guess your point, Nicola, is that while everyone potentially could benefit from it, it's really important to prioritise people who are, as Joyce Simard says in her article, tend to be silent and invisible. So, in terms of thinking where to begin, it's really important to begin with that group so that they don't be continually overlooked.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have another question from Diana Robinson, asking, is this training available to informal carers, i.e. family to practice outside care homes? Um, I guess that the short answer to that is yes. There is training that is available. We don't specify who is allowed to attend the training. So whether you are a care professional in any kind of context, whether you're a family member, yes, it's open. I think what we're conscious of is that there is a financial barrier because all of the training that's currently available, there's a cost to it. There are free resources, we had free guidance booklets that are available to download. Um, there are the films that you can watch. There are lots of resources out there to help guide you without necessarily needing to do training. But in terms of the training, I would say that's the thing that I'm very aware of is it's expensive to attend training as an individual family member. Um, we would like at the University of Worcester, and I'm sure lots of other people, to make Namaste Care more accessible to family members. And I can see Amy from NEAR is just making a comment to say that NEAR are in the process of specifically developing a course for family members at home. And I think we would like to see some more research looking at what would support family members to be able to implement Namaste Care. Is it formal training? Is it like a buddying or system or something like that? I don't know what the best system would be, but something that is accessible and that doesn't necessarily have those same barriers or financial barriers would be fantastic to see. Di, do you want to come in there because you've obviously got experience of attending training as a family member?
What I did as a family member was I found another family member who was also interested, and we became a little group then, and we got a discount on our training. So if you can find allies among other family carers, then that would help bring down the cost of the training. And I must say, it's not expensive, and it is certainly worth it. The training was with Lorna was absolutely amazing, and I recommend it to all family carers.
I think
Excellent.
something to say about having Di and her friend on the training was that it added a really beautiful dimension to the training to have family carers there alongside professional carers, and really added a great richness to it, because the course that I run with my colleague Fiona is very participatory, and so hearing Di's perspective and the perspective of our friend was really very valuable.
So we've had another question to ask, are there plans for future research? And as Min described, there is currently a large scale European study called In Touch, which is in process. So that's still ongoing. Um, and as I said, we are very interested in thinking particularly about that area of how to support more family members to use Namaste Care, because I think there's been more research done on how to skill up care professionals, but I think that's still a gap in terms of the research, that question of how do we support family members, especially as Di highlighted, the fact that family members are the continuous person, or people. And it doesn't have to be the primary carer. We often talk about sort of primary carers. It could be somebody else within a group of family or friends that supports delivering Namaste Care. It's something that's very accessible. Um, okay, we have a question from Claire Tucker saying, is there any evidence of Namaste Care being used with people who are bereaved? I don't know the answer to that question. Don't know whether Lorna and Di, do you know? No. I mean, I think if you look at the components of Namaste Care, um, to use the phrase of it's not rocket science. Lots of it, I think, is probably used in lots of different approaches. It's, there's lots of different kind of therapeutic approaches that would incorporate different elements of Namaste Care. But yeah, and I think it could be used. Certainly, I've seen people use it, maybe with people with profound learning disabilities, or people at end of life who maybe don't have dementia, or people with dementia and other mental health issues, maybe where the dementia is not so advanced. There are different places where it could be used, but I've not known it to be used for people who are bereaved. But I think Joyce would probably say if it's useful, then use it. Okay. We have a question here. Di, it looks like you may be typing an answer already. How can we encourage care homes to support volunteer family members?
I am typing, but I will say what I'm typing is I wish I knew the answer, but there are organisations out there who are pushing for shared care in care homes so that families get more involved. And I would push care homes to really get families more involved. So I'm trying to think of the name of the charity. It's Ruth Ely's charity, if either of you can remember which her charity is pushing for shared care and really making sure families are involved much more with shared care. And I can see that's the only way, really.
Is that
Tide.
say Tide?
Tide. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Lovely. Okay, I think we are unfortunately at time. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening and for all of your questions. And I'm really, really hoping that this has inspired people to take a little bit of this away and spread a bit more Namaste Care into the world.